Welcome everyone to my two-part mini-series called Quantum Philosophy. In these videos, we will explore the connections found between the phenomenon known as the wave-particle duality and the metaphysical human experiences of love and wisdom. At the smallest, physically observable level, we can actually see the blueprint and the will of the universe. These traits are expressed all throughout reality, but in this video, I'll be focusing on defining the blueprint of creation. The second part will connect the wisdom found in quantum physics to real, tangible life experiences. By following the universal alignment formula, we align our perceived reality with the blueprint itself, with the flow of the universe, which can be metaphysically described as infinite potential and logical outcomes. My name is Tyler Vincent. Please join me as we peer into the mind of the source of all things and unravel the philosophies of creation. To begin, let's clarify exactly how quantum physics interacts with the information in this video. I'm not attempting to rewrite the observed scientific principles, but merely expand upon what is already known into an understanding that hasn't been collectively realized. Through my own studies, observations, and spiritual practices, I began to understand the purpose and intention of the wave-particle duality. Scientists believe that if there is a God, we should be able to somehow calculate his existence. This is actually very true, but the idea of creation is a concept, and this is where science falls short. Science cannot measure the intrinsic value of a chair, but it can measure the physical manifestation of the chair, which is the chair itself. Geometry, math, and science is how we physically measure intangible concepts. Quantum physics has been repeatedly measuring the chair, but still hasn't completely uncovered the intrinsic value of it. And by chair, of course, I'm talking about light. As I stated earlier, I'm not here to rewrite physics. I'm simply translating the understandings into something that resonates with observable reality. Understandings that are widely accepted as true. The science and philosophies of the wave-particle duality have always intersected, but we couldn't comprehend it until now. The wave and the particle are polar opposites, literally giving birth to the description of duality. We experience many dualities in life, so this should be an obvious association with laws of nature. If there is light, then so too is there dark. A duality of coexistence, one unable to exist without the other for the purpose of contrasting ideas. This is true on the micro and macro level, but diving into those reflections will be for another time. In order to understand the phenomenon, we must first unveil the core philosophies that are indisputable in regards to the collective human experience. If the wave and the particle functioning together is the building block of all reality, it wouldn't be far-fetched to say that the creative blueprint, or the intentions of the universe, would be inscribed within the duality as well. Understanding the universal principles of humanity is the start to comprehending the intention behind the source of all things. Let's start with the concept of free will. Everyone has free will. Sometimes it's constrained, but even the smallest deviations of movement and thought are proof of our freedom to do whatever we want within the limits of the surrounding environment. Because free will exists, so too does unconditional love. This is not to be confused with a conditional love that says, I will love you if you do this, or another example, only through me can you find salvation. Unconditional love is the highest respect for free will, meaning that no matter what another entity does, you deeply understand their purpose and the gift of free will, and you allow the energies to flow. If someone were to ask for help, you would do so to the fullest extent of your abilities in order to achieve the desired outcome. You would support their purpose with no expectation of return. This is a very pure form of love that aligns with creation, which I will discuss later. It's also important to understand that if there are infinite potentials of free will, there must also be infinite unconditional love available at all times, waiting to match the will of an entity. Through this understanding of infinite potentials and the omnipresent respect of free will, which is called unconditional love, we can then say that unconditional love and infinite potential energy are metaphysically interchangeable. There is always unconditional love waiting to match the free will of an entity. This is Metaphysics 101 at play. Unconditional love cannot exist without infinite potential energy, and infinite potential energy cannot exist without unconditional love. Free will also cannot exist without infinite potential energy, and although this understanding seems captivating, it's actually not yet complete. Another indisputable characteristic of free will is the proof of action. Without observable change or motion, free will can't be justified. We need proof that free will exists, which includes the will to change. To bring these few universal characteristics of humanity full circle, We can now accurately describe free will as the freedom to do what we want and the willpower to make a choice. If no choices are made, free will can't exist. If infinite potential isn't present, free will can't exist. If the language ever gets too dense, feel free to rewind and give it another listen. When you're ready, we'll continue into the next universal traits of humanity. As we observe life and the adaptations that are always present, we can see that there is a worldwide accumulation of experiences and change. All entities on Earth are capable of some degree of wisdom, which is the accumulation of experiences into something tangible and observable. Plants grow towards the sun, ants work in colonies, and some even enslave other ants. Wisdom is irrefutably present within all life, including us humans. The last core philosophy of humanity is the choice to serve ourselves or to serve others. The nature of humanity is the inevitable outcome of social interaction with other life. Everyone makes this choice, either consciously or subconsciously, making it an indisputable characteristic of humanity. In fact, we notice this taking and giving all through nature. Now that we have all the characteristics listed, let's go over what they are. Humans have free will, infinite potential and unconditional love, the ability to accumulate wisdom, and the choice to serve others or serve ourselves. These core philosophical characteristics are expressed at the quantum level of all existence in the wave-particle duality. The wave perfectly embodies unconditional love, and the particle perfectly embodies wisdom. They also demonstrate the choice of serving others, serving the self, and the effects of giving and taking and manipulating potential energy. Through the lens of metaphysics, we can decipher our purpose and how to align with the creative intentions of the source of all things. The wave-particle duality is the engine of creation, and it's the physical, observable concept of free will expressing itself. Join me in part 2 of this mini-series where we will discuss these connections briefly and also describe the new, never-before-crafted, universal alignment formula, which hasn't been discovered until now. Thank you for joining. My name is Tyler Vincent, and I'll see you in the next video. Welcome to part 2 of the mini-series called Quantum Philosophy. In this video, we will take all of the understandings from part 1 and connect them to the engine of creation, otherwise known as the wave-particle duality. If you haven't seen the first video, I recommend watching it before this one. There are several understandings that will really help you going forward. I'm going to jump right into this. The wave, as mentioned in the previous video, embodies the core characteristics of unconditional love. When we compare a human who embodies this understanding with the wave in the engine of creation, or the wave-particle duality, they express the exact same traits from the micro to the macro. The unconditional love embodied by a human and expressed in quantum physics is expansive. The wave physically expresses this, and as humans, the actions and thoughts of serving others causes our bioelectric field to expand. Our attention is our energy, so when we think outside of ourselves to help others unconditionally, it stretches out the reach of the ions in the bioelectric field, causing an expanded magnetic effect. It's also expanded by the energy being taken by those who ask for help to achieve their objective. The unconditional being doesn't seek to interfere with the will of others and waits to be used. This is how the wave functions as well, and is the start of the concept of time, which I can discuss another day. The wave also supplies all the possibilities of the particle, showing the philosophy of serving others and serving ourselves. There are so many connections, I can keep going, but I want to move on to the next part of the engine of creation. Just remember, the wave function can be metaphysically described as unconditional love or infinite potential energy. The traits expressed by the particle accurately describe wisdom, the gathering or consolidation of seemingly invisible information and experience into an observable piece of information or light. The particle also expresses the choice of serving the self and the effects of manipulating the infinite potential energy to achieve a goal. These aspects of the wave-particle duality are reflected all through creation, and as much as I'd love to talk about it, another time. For now, let's start with laying out the universal alignment formula. Attention plus intention equals attraction. Each part of this formula reflects part of the engine of creation. When a positive polarity is given to the value of attention, it is annotating the direction of energy of the observer, which is you or me. Positive means our attention is directed outwards, and negative is inwards. The wave in the engine expresses the expansive nature of outward attention, while the particle reflects the compressed nature of inward attention. In the second part of the formula, the value of intention has to do with the nature of the attention. When a positive polarity is expressed through intention, it is unconditional intention, meaning whatever the attention is directed at does not need to change or be manipulated or will imposed on. The result of the formula is the attraction of the metaphysical concepts tied to the engine of creation. The wave is outwards, which is positive, and serves unconditionally, which is also positive. The particle is inward, which is negative, and takes or manipulates the energy of potentials for itself, which is negative. To simplify, the wave expresses two positive traits, and the particle expresses two negative traits. Going back to the universal alignment formula, the result is the attraction of the metaphysical concepts of unconditional love, which is infinite potential energy, and wisdom. All of that being said, a completed formula would look something like this. Outward attention plus unconditionally equals wisdom. Inward attention plus conditionally equals potential energy. The best example of the first formula would be to serve others unconditionally with no expectation of return. The second formula would be to serve ourselves conditionally. This means that we are turning inward with the intention of changing ourselves to achieve a desired state of being. We can simply call this meditation. When we serve others unconditionally and serve ourselves with the intention of changing and growing, we align with the fundamental philosophies of the universe, expressed in the engine of creation, the wave-particle duality, on a macro level. We align with infinite potentials and logical outcomes, abundance. This is the blueprint of creation and the universal alignment formula completed. After everything is said and done, it's up to the collective to adopt these potentially world-changing philosophies. But more significantly, if the idea that concepts and science are interchangeable, this means that other concepts are connected to physics and divine geometry. For example, the chestahedron is the geometric shape of the heart. Not only is the flower of life located inside of it, but the design also reflects the vortex nature of the blood passing through the heart. It's truly amazing. I want to share what I just recently realized through some active meditation. If the engine of creation theoretically proves the connection between the sciences and metaphysical concepts, this means the alignments of stars and celestial bodies create concepts in the sky, which we resonate with as we simply ponder the nature of reality and observe the heavens. I'm going to stop there and allow this information to drift around for a bit. My name is Tyler Vincent, and I have translated more in my book, Metaphysics, the True Philosophies of Creation, which can be found on Amazon. Thank you for joining me.